أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الصلاة والسلام على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي رب زدني علما ربي يسر ولا تعسر وتمم الخير ثم أما بعد والحمد لله السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. MashaAllah. Today, inshallah, we are carrying on from chapter number 355, the prohibition of meeting a caravan to make a purchase from the village folk by a city dweller and overbidding. Prohibition of meeting a caravan to make purchases from the village folk. Caravan means a group of people that are coming with trade goods. The prohibition of an intended deception will explain further in the Hadith. But where there is a deceitful intent to try and undermine or overprice the marketplace by damaging, by perverting, by causing problems to the production chain, to the supply and demand, to destabilize marketplaces. This is what's meant. But the example and the hadith is specifically mentioning that someone who lives in the city should not be selling commodities on behalf of someone who is producing it in the village. Why that is, we'll come to that in a minute, inshallah. And this hadith is taken in context with the remaining hadith in the chapter. Okay? Also, the prohibition of overbidding. What's known as shill bidding. Overbidding. You are trying to... Shill bidding is one type, and also overbidding is another type, whereby your brother trying to buy something and is in the midst of a negotiation and a deal, is about to close the deal, is about to buy something, and then you come from the middle and say, no, I'll pay more, and try to damage his bidding, damage his deal, and cause a fuss and cause niza, cause problem and feuds. Another one is a scam, where, sometimes on eBay they do shill bidding. So one person bids and then you get your cousins to bid on as well to make it more high, the bid. Okay, or do you see those guys who have those like, where is the ball, where is the ball, where is the ball? And then someone gives £20 or £50 and that guy is actually bidding or betting. This, of course, betting is haram as it is. But this whole concept of trying to encourage increase of price by a deceitful apparent investment or an interest in the product, a fake interest in the product. Also, the prohibition of proposing to a bride when another person is already trying to propose to the bride. If someone's already proposed to the bride, you let that discussion and that proposal finish. Either they accept, whereby the marriage is complete, or they refuse and they turn away, so then someone else may show their interest. But in the process of negotiation, in the process of the biyarmat, or in the process of the sinifan, in the process of the wedding talks in progress, nobody else should try and put their word into it, because this will cause confusion, this will cause fight, this will cause niza'. Or look at this guy trying to have a marriage proposal and this guy came. You will find that all of these rulings, underneath them is Islam's consistent interest and determination to deter and to stay away from and prevent and protect societies from fighting, quarreling and niza'. Because if you bid over someone else's bid, what's going to happen? If you propose over someone else's proposal, if you try and damage the marketplace and mess up the product chain and then the supply demand, then what's going to happen? You'll have poverty, you'll have inflation, you'll have this, you'll have all of these problems. So these are some of the topics that will be discussed in this chapter in the various hadith that are to come. Now, earlier on today, me and Qari Yunus were having a nice discussion in the whole concept of having evidence and understanding evidence. A lot of us may know some evidence. Say, this is an ayah of the Quran. This is a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. But what is the hadith saying in terms of meaning, in terms of qa'idah, in terms of legal legislation? That is a separate science, a separate ilm, a separate subject which needs to be studied. And that's called usulul fiqh. Usulul fiqh. Taking Islamic law out of or from the proofs of Islamic law, extrapolating verdicts from legal texts. So these are hadith, sometimes what it's pointing towards, or this ayat, sometimes what it's pointing towards is quite clear cut. Allah says, وَأَقِيمُوا الصَّلَاةَ وَآتُوا الزَّكَاةَ, establish salah and give zakah, it's quite clear cut. But other times, what it's indicating towards, or the qa'idah, the fiqh that's going to come out of it, is obscure, is vague, is unclear, is indirect. And that needs direction and clarity, specification and explanation from the usuliyun, from the scholars of extrapolation of Islamic legal legislation from Islamic legal texts. A lot of like fancy words, but it's quite simple. Simple in that the principle and the concept is simple, but the process is quite complicated. And that is why it's not enough for you to just memorize evidences without understanding the evidence and how to apply it. And the understanding of evidence and how to apply it requires studying, requires dedication, requires studying of the language, studying under mashayikh, talaqqi from the ulama, and etc. You don't go to Google and get an ayah of the Quran and start becoming tafsir and doing tafsir yourself. Like, I think this ayah means, this Quranic ayah means, no, your thought, sir, get your thought, chuck in the bin. Doesn't matter if it's not based upon what the Quranic context is saying, what the Quranic siyaq is saying, the ayat is saying. And that's why the scholars have, when they came to a hadith, they've put them into chapters. Sometimes the hadith seems disconnected from the other, but this overarching chaptering of the hadith shows that these are interconnected hadiths. So now for me to understand this chapter, or this verdict of, for example, you shouldn't meet a caravan and take their commodity and sell it on their behalf. For you to properly understand this, you need to go get more than one hadith, or all of the ahadith in the chapter, so that the mas'ala becomes clear to you. Otherwise, if your cousin asks you, I want you to represent me in this sale transaction, and you say, okay, that's fine, I'll do it for you. That's not a sin. That's called tawqeel. That's called representation. That's called power of attorney, depending on how serious you make it and how documented you make it. So that's not what the hadith is saying, though it may seem like that's what the hadith is saying. So that's why understanding the whole chapter properly, with correct meaning, is very important. And that's why our Wednesday Islamic Studies class now, there's a proper plug. I'm plugging the class now. Our Wednesday Islamic Studies class will be from next week going into usul al-fiqh. Very, very important. Not done here in this masjid before. In my time, I don't know about before, I'm not sure of, I don't know of, but this will be phenomenal. It will be simple, but it will be phenomenal. It will make you think, it will expand your mind, and it will give you the tools to understand and appreciate your deen. And also, for those who make fake arguments cause noise, the Muslim Twitter League and the TikTok bandwagon, a lot of this stuff will be like, this is jokes. These guys are chatting nonsense, because that's not how Islamic legal texts work. That usul al-fiqh will give you that knowledge and that power to be able to see it from a different lens. Inshallah. Okay, as for the hadith, 1775 says, عن أنس رضي الله عنه قال نهى رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم أن يبيع حاضر لباد وإن كان أخاه لأبيه وأمه. Anas ibn Malik رضي الله عنه أرضاه narrated that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam forbade that a person in the city should make a deal on behalf of a villager on commission, even if he is his real brother from his father and his mother. So he's saying, if one of your brothers lives in the village and he's a farmer, right? He produced, say for example, eggs. He produced chicken. He produced sheep, cows. He produced milk. For him to sell this commodity, Islam is saying he, the farmer, should sell it himself, and not allow for someone who's living in the city, who he has whereby the farmer himself doesn't have direct access to the marketplace, and someone on his behalf is selling that commodity, that product. The reason why it's phrased like this, and the reason why it's said like this, it's to avert what we said, deception and tampering with the market prices. Meaning is, if the farmer who harvested or if the person who's the manufacturer was able to go and sell directly into the marketplace, what's going to happen to the price of the marketplace? It's going to be low. It's going to be low. It's going to be fair. But when you start getting middlemen involved, what does he do? He wants to package it and make a cut. Correct? What does that cause? Inflation. So then, who does it harm? The general public. It harms the consumer. But the materialistic society, in which capitalism is the prominent financial system, they don't have any rules like that. They don't care if it's fair or not. As long as you can make a good cut of profit, it doesn't really matter. So Islam is saying, if someone has harvested, produced, manufactured, someone has created a product, let them have access to the marketplace. Let them go and exhibit, propose, sell their product. Two reasons. One, so that the market price remains stable, not inflated, not cheated, not a fake marketplace. Furthermore, that's one of them. Another one is so that the person who's selling gets a fair price. Gets a fair price for their commodity. Does that make sense to you, yeah? Because what happens is, if someone else is selling only and that person has never seen the marketplace, has never actually shown interest in it, then they may be getting ripped off. They may be getting undercut. They may be getting a fraction of the price that they deserve for the commodity and the product that they're selling. So in summary, when someone tries to represent someone else in a sale in which there is a possibility of deception, of cheating, of tampering with the marketplaces, of causing public confusion or inflation, then in these cases, such a transaction, such a representation is not permissible. Apart from that, if someone says to their cousin, listen, I don't know much about cars, can you buy a car for me? Can you sell this car for me? Then this is jaiz, this tawqeel is jaiz. But what's not jaiz is when you tamper with the market prices, when you tamper with the production chain, and the supply and demand, and intentionally try to cause a spike in the prices. As you know, many of these capitalist societies, in order to keep the inflated prices, they will literally delete, they will dispose of goods. They will dispose of wheat and rice and other basic needs so that the price remains high. This is tampering with the market, and Islam has destroyed and uprooted these evils from the onset. And that's why you see why Islam is the main enemy. Because Islam, from its essence, stands right in front of greedy capitalists and says, no mate, you can't cheat people. You have to give people their fair due. You can't take the natural resources of another country, of Nigeria, of an African country, and make it only accessible to you, and the people of that country can't access it. Islam says, no, forbidden. The people of the country must benefit first before someone else exports it. This is the justice and the fairness of Allah. Allah has given to people under their land, in their land, different provisions. SubhanAllah, if we think about it like that, if all of the people that had the natural resources were able to benefit themselves, every country would suffice. There is enough in this world as rizq and provision for everyone to thrive. And Allah said in the Quran, قُلْ لَوْ أَنْتُمْ تَمْلِكُونَ خَزَائِنَ رَحْمَةِ رَبِّي إِذًا لَأَمْسَكْتُمْ خَشْيَةَ الْإِنفَاقِ وَكَانَ الْإِنسَانُ قَتُورًا. That if you were given the power to amass and take control of all of the provisions, then what you would have done? إِذًا لَأَمْسَكْتُمْ. You'd have held it back. Said, no, this is all for me. We're keeping it for our country only. We're not giving it to Africa. We're not giving it to Asia. We're not giving it to this country that needs it. Winston Churchill made millions of Bengalis die from famine by taking the crops from their country and leaving it in stock rooms, in stock warehouses, in stock ships for his soldiers in case they need it. And when Winston Churchill found out the Bengal famine was fully in progress and Bengalis, Bangladeshis are dying of starvation, he said this is their own fault for breeding like rats. I don't know how I got there, but this is the reality and the effect of capitalism. When you have no care for others, when you have no care of fairness, all you care about is the materialistic greed. And the hadith said, nothing will fill the mouth and the belly of a son of Adam except for the dust, because greed knows no end. Greed knows no end. Subhanallah. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us enough provision in this world. Everyone can eat and live. But what happens is, when you become greedy, when one party tries to take the rizq or take the provision and take the rights of others, that's when you have fasad. And that's why Allah said, ظهر الفساد. Fasad has become apparent and overpowering. ظهر الفساد في البر والبحر. Why? Fasad has become prominent on the land and on sea. Why? ظهر الفساد في البر والبحر بما كسبت أيدي الناس, because of that which the hands of men have done. So you talk about pollution. The same countries that are trying to champion climate awareness and climate change and trying to tackle it, these are the same criminals and culprits who caused the biggest explosions and world wars that raised the planet's temperature, if it did, more than anyone else. You're telling me the man that's driving CNG in Bangladesh or in India or Pakistan, and me and you driving our basic 1.6 or for some cases 3-liter cars, is going to be more dangerous than those who are destroying the Nagasaki and the Hiroshimas and the World War I and II and what they're doing in Gaza right now. Are we that silly to believe that we are the culprits when they are the ones that are riding in private jets and we are traveling in eco-friendly trains or bicycling it to work? SubhanAllah, so much to contemplate. And that's why Islam is so powerful. It's applicable and suitable for every single realm of society. And that's why it stands in the face of the capitalistic, greedy, corrupt leaders of the world. And that's why they don't like Islam. Islam has to be removed. And wherever Muslim and Islam is, we see that they become victims of Western imperialism. May Allah protect us all. Ameen ya Rabbil Alameen. Anyway, this was a big tangent, but I think it's relevant and it shows to you where this can lead you to. When deception, tampering with the market prices, from basics, it can become a grand problem, which affects millions of people. 1776 عن ابن عمر رضي الله عنهما قال قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم لا تتلقوا السلع حتى يهبط بها إلى الأسواق. So this is an explanation of the previous hadith. It says, don't try to meet a commodity on its way to the marketplace before it reaches the marketplace. Because if it does not reach the marketplace, then the marketplace price will become inflated and high. Because they'll feel like goods are not coming into the market, so the price will go up. That's one problem. People will suffer. And the seller will suffer because if he did not go to the marketplace, he will not know the fair and right price for his product. I can remember when I was selling my car in Cairo, before I could get to the marketplace to try and sell it, everyone was trying to meet me on the way because I had a nice Toyota Corolla, 1997, or something like that. It's an old one, but everyone loved it because it's like a Japanese car. And the day I want to sell it in the marketplace, before I could get inside the market, wait, we're going to give you this, we're going to give you that. Subhanallah, because they're trying to prevent me from knowing the right price and the right demand for the product. So this happens in many societies. You know, when you go and undercut the suppliers, other suppliers, when you go and do the problem happens in many different levels. Okay? So لا تتلقوا السلع, don't try and undercut or don't try and prevent the commodity, the product from reaching the marketplace and buying it before, because this will harm the buyers because the product price will go up overall, and this will harm the seller because the seller will not get a fair price for their product that they're trying to sell. Does that make sense? Yeah. 1777 عن ابن عباس رضي الله عنهما قال قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم لا تتلقى الركبان ولا يبيع حاضر لباد. فقال له طاووس ما لا يبيع حاضر لباد. قال لا يكون له سمسارا. So he said ما لا يبيع حاضر لباد. What does it mean? Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Abbas narrated that the Prophet Muhammad said, the caravans carrying merchandise should not be met on the way to purchase from them. A man in the city should not sell for a man of the desert. A man of the city should not sell for a man on the desert. Tawus, from the great tabi'een, muhaddithin, asked Abdullah ibn Abbas, what does it mean? What does it really imply that he should not? What does these words really mean? He said he should not work as an agent on his behalf. Meaning, whereby again, the seller doesn't get to see the market, and the market doesn't get to see the seller. So the buyers, mass consumers, the public suffer, as well as the seller and the businessman or the producer of the merchandise is also harmed and doesn't get his full right. 1778. Sayyidina Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu narrated that the Prophet ﷺ forbade that a man in the city should be the commission or an agent of a man from the desert, and prohibited the practice of nudge. Nudge. What's nudge? Nudge is offering a higher price for something in order to allure another customer who is interested in the thing. This is called shill bidding. Bay'un nudge, or nudge bil bay', where you're trying to give an assumption by scam that this product has a higher demand or should be more pricey. And that a man should make an offer while the offer of his brother is pending. So shill bidding is haram. Nudge is haram. Nudge is haram. Trying to undermine the offer and the transaction of your fellow brother or sister in Islam or fellow human being is not allowed. Okay? What does that mean? You know that your neighbor is selling the other neighbor a car. Okay? Say for example, £5,000. They're in the process, it's about to go down, it's finished. Now all of a sudden, the day before the sale, you come and say to the seller, listen, I know you said you £5,000, I'll give you 5,500. So what have you done? Have you caused the problem or not? Because the phase of seeking a higher value for the commodity is already finished. Because surely he put an advert out before, isn't it? I want to sell this car, does anybody want to buy it? And now, negotiations are in progress. It's nearly finished. Cancelling out these negotiations will cause problems. Great grief for the buyer and the seller, or maybe not for the seller, but for the buyer indeed. And this may cause fasad and niza' between the neighbors as well. So that's why it's not permissible for you to bid upon a product on which your brother has already or your sister has already placed a bid, because this will cause problems. Or that he should make a proposal of marriage while that of his brother is pending. You know that someone from your area has already proposed to the bride, and she's mashallah very sought after bride. She's a alima, shaykha, she's got all the good qualities, right? And everyone wants to get married to her. So now you know that they are already considering him, this Maulana Sahib, Shaykh Wahiul Islam, for marriage. He's already mashallah made the proposition, and they're already considering him. You can't come and try and undermine, because then you'll have a problem with me too as well. We're going to get involved and say, make sure that doesn't happen. But this concept is haram. If the proposal has already been given, you can't come and propose upon the proposal. Let them finish. Either they accept, so the marriage happens, or the bride says, sorry mate, I'm not interested in you. Or her father or her wakil on her behalf says, no, it's not going to happen. Or the groom himself says, sorry, I don't want to get married anymore because it's too expensive. So until some party turns away, you can't go and propose on top of the proposition already. You understand the concept, inshallah. Another narration is the Prophet ﷺ forbade the people from meeting the caravan on the way for entering into business transaction with them, and the selling of goods by a dweller of the city on behalf of the desert man, and the seeking by a woman the divorce of her sister from her husband. So what's happening here is the opposite. One sister wants to get married to her friend's husband. So there's competition between the women. So she's trying to convince the guy, you should divorce her, innit? She's not a good wife. She's not looking after you. You deserve better. MashaAllah, tabarakallah. What a man you are. And you fall for the trap. And you fall for the deception. Oh, do you know what? You're right. This woman is giving you all this wiswas, and she's never done anything for you, while your wife is there for you, looking after you. Yeah, you have problems. Who doesn't have problems, right? But she's trying to take advantage of this problem. She tries, you know what, just let her go. And then guess what? Me and you, happily ever after, Habibi. This is the kind of trying to break someone else's marriage for your own personal gain. Completely haram. Completely haram. Here is an extreme case where the girl or the lady is trying to convince the man to divorce his wife so that she can get married to him. But guess what? There's actually other cases too. You know what you'll find in society, yeah? Some of the biggest advisors of marriage are those who are not married themselves. The sister, the friend, the girl, female friend who's not married or had a breakdown of marriage, got a divorce or something, they're the biggest. Oh, you're going to let him talk to you like that? Yeah, is that how he is? Yeah, he's going to, yeah. No way, I wouldn't take that if I was you. Look at you. Come on, man, he should let you come out at 2 o'clock so we can do ride or die. Come on, so we can park up in Sainsbury's top floor, park up a car park and have vape. Oh, these kind of wiswas that people give, right? Here, in this case, he's not even married. They just want to chill out. How deluded are you? You're going to break someone's household, their marriage, and damage their whole family, damage their children's future, so that you and your friend can have some late night chills. Add to it maybe because she's got a nice car, so you're like thinking, that will benefit from me. I get to chill in the car as well. This is happening today, right now in society. It's happening right now. I hear it all the time. I hear it, this is not actually far, this is reality. It happens regularly, where friends who are silly, uneducated, unfair, want the worst for their friends, out of jealousy or because of selfishness, will destroy someone else's marriage for their own personal gain. One may be because she wants to get married to him, okay. Or the more common is so that she becomes a free woman, so that they can party day and night and they can be depressed for the rest of their lives. This is haram jiddan, big sin. Please don't do this. Don't tamper with people's families. Don't tamper with people's marriages. Don't tamper with people's proposals. Don't tamper with people's provisions. Don't tamper with people's businesses. Don't tamper with people's fame and their honor and their dignity. All of this is haram for you to harm. May Allah guide us all. Okay? Forbade the people from meeting the caravan and the seeking by a woman the divorce of her sister, and the practice of najsh and leaving the animals unmilked for some time for the purpose of accumulating milk to deceive. This is like something that you probably never heard of. Sometimes what they do, yeah, is they don't milk the cow until they take it to the market. They don't milk it for like a week. So the udders, they're like very full. What are they trying to show? They're trying to show that this cow gives a lot of milk. They try to show that. They don't take the milk out, so it's all pumped, and they feel like this is how much milk it gives. So the price is up. This is also haram. Because you're trying to deceive people to try and make the product more than what it actually is. And this can be applicable in other subjects or other commodities too. If someone may try to make it seem like, you know, a car is better than it is, a house is better than it is, a product is better than it is, by way of cheating and deceiving. This is all haram. 1779. عن ابن عمر رضي الله عنهما أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قال لا يبيع بعضكم على بيع بعض ولا يخطب على خطبة أخيه إلا أن يأذن له. Which is that Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Umar narrated the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, a person should not enter into transaction when his Muslim brother has already negotiated, nor should he make a proposal of marriage when that of his brother is already pending, except with the permission of the latter. The first, ya akhi, you know, I'm not going to buy this anymore, go ahead. Or I'm not interested in this marriage anymore, go ahead, with the permission. عن عقبة بن عامر رضي الله عنه أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قال المؤمن أخو المؤمن فلا يحل لمؤمن أن يبتاع على بيع أخيه ولا يخطب على خطبة أخيه حتى يذر. Uqba ibn Amir narrated, radiallahu anhu, narrated, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, a believer is the brother of another believer, and thus it is not permissible for a believer to make an offer while the offer of his brother is pending, nor should he make a proposal of marriage while that of his brother is pending, until he withdraws from his transaction or from his proposal. The hadith is saying it's his brother and shows how vile the crime is. But today, in today's society, people do it to their own brothers even. So we have a lot to learn, a lot to rectify, and a lot to contemplate. Prohibition of squandering wealth on items not approved by Sharia. Israf. إن المبذرين كانوا إخوان الشياطين. Those who are wasteful are the brothers of shaitan. Because those who are wasteful assist the decline and the disharmony and the poverty of human beings. Those who are wasteful, they cause problems in society, isn't it? If people weren't wasteful, didn't do israf, then everyone would get their fair due. And shaitan wants to disrupt the human society because shaitan is jealous of Banu Adam from the beginning. And he made a vow to Allah, Allah, I will cause them problems. ثم لآتينهم من بين أيديهم ومن خلفهم وعن أيمانهم وعن شمائلهم ولا تجد أكثرهم شاكرين. قال رب أنظرني إلى يوم يبعثون قال إنك من المنظرين. Iblis vowed to cause problems for humanity. Okay? And so those who are wasteful, do israf, when they take the waswas of Iblis and shaitan, what they're doing is assisting Iblis and shaitan in causing problems within human society. And therefore, and thereby leading to further destruction of the humankind and human societies. So shaitan is active and trying his best to try and cause problems. عن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه قال قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم إن الله تعالى يرضى لكم ثلاثا ويكره لكم ثلاثا فيرضى لكم أن تعبدوه ولا تشركوا به شيئا وأن تعتصموا بحبل الله جميعا ولا تفرقوا ويكره لكم قيل وقال وكثرة السؤال وإضاعة المال. Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu narrated the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, verily Allah likes three things for you and disapproves of three things for you. Allah loves that you should do three things and Allah prohibits that you should not do certain other three things. What are they? He likes that you should worship Allah, Him alone, and that you should not associate anything in worship to Him. Do not commit shirk. So ibadah of Allah, only tawheed and not committing shirk. And Allah loves, number three, they should be united. They should hold on to the rope of Allah together and do not disunite. And Allah, and we've spoken about unity a lot and we'll carry on speaking about unity because that is from the essential instructions of our deen. From all of the things that are haram, disunity is a major sin in Islam. Dividing and division is a major sin in Islam because Allah forbade it, prohibited it clearly throughout the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So Allah prohibits, so Allah likes that you should worship Allah and not commit shirk and remain united. And Allah disapproves and dislikes the following. Allah disapproves and discourages and forbids irrelevant talk. Gossip is what it's called. He said this and she said that and that happened and oh my God, that happened and he proposed to her secretly and she didn't accept secretly, and so then this became a social media scandal and everyone wants to know what happened. Okay, all of this stuff, qila wa qal, said, is, what not, he said, she said, don't even matter, doesn't even concern you, will not change anything for the good. This Allah does not like it. And Allah asks us to turn away from vain talk. Okay? Vain talk, useless talk, gossip, turn away from it. Allah disapproves that. Second thing Allah disapproves is persisting questioning, unnecessary questioning with an intention to try and delay fulfillment of the command. You know Allah is telling you to do this. Just go and do it. Don't be like the Banu Israel when they were told go and slaughter a cow and they kept on asking, فَشَدَّدُوا فَشَدَّدَ اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِمْ. They made it difficult upon themselves, so Allah made it difficult upon them. If Allah is telling you, if you know that Islam says this is haram, this is halal, this is wajib, this is fard, do it. Don't make it complicated. What's the need to get philosophical and logical and debating everything? Oh, but hijab, is it really? Khalas, it's in the Quran, do it. Fard, do it. Wajib, do it. Haram, don't. Okay? Makruh, don't. So please, we need to reflect. And this is the meaning of being a believer, which is sami'na wa ata'na. We've heard and we've obeyed. So Allah disapproves irrelevant talk, persisting questions unnecessarily, and the squandering of wealth. Wasting of your money on unnecessary products. Wallahi, every single one of us needs to think about this. Okay? When it comes to clothes, when it comes to food, when it comes to technology, when it comes to shoes, people collect 20, 30 pairs and pairs upon pairs upon pairs of shoes. And they don't give it to charity as well. The Salaf, the rich people of the past that were rich, they would wear what they used to wear and they would give it away afterwards. But what do? We hog it. We never get rid of it. A person has got storage. Have you realized how much self-storage business has boomed? Has that made you think? Wherever you go, there's self-storage, yellow self-storage, this self-storage, Vanguard self-storage. Because people love to hog onto their stuff. Who are you storing it for? You used it, you've enjoyed it, you've benefited, give it to someone else. What's the need to store it? Storing it and hogging is one of the big reasons of corruption in the marketplace society. Remember what happened in COVID time? People were taking you saw what happened in Sainsbury's the other day with the rice, isn't it? The rice wars. The Bangladeshi rice wars. SubhanAllah. People are going crazy. Khalas, special offer. We'll excuse them. But you saw at COVID time, people were buying the whole shop. People, the non-Muslims, may Allah guide them, tissue. Ya Ammi, you got water, man. This is when the Muslims really show to you how powerful the bidet is. Al-Budna. SubhanAllah. Because washing yourself is much better, it's cleaner. So wastefulness is a problem. Hogging. You know that there were rich people, Sahaba, Sahabiyat, Salaf Salihin. Abu Hanifa was very rich. Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani was very rich. Abdurrahman ibn Auf was very, but they used to possess, and the wealth never used to possess them. They used to possess the wealth. Today, the wealth possesses people. You become a slave to your wealth. You become a slave to your wealth. You can't get rid of it. You can't control it. Your greed has overtaken you. Okay? May Allah guide us. And may Allah keep us steadfast upon the deen. Wallahi, Islam is so beautiful. So perfect. Every single chapter of Islam you study, you are more impressed by its beauty, by its perfection. And this legislation, this hukum can be only from the one who is Al-Alim, Al-Khabir, the perfect himself, because his system is so meticulous. Which other religion has got this kind of system? Tell me. No one has this kind of detailed minutiae of social justice and social fairness and social guidance. It's ajib, amazing, amazing. Warrad, the scribe of Al-Mughira ibn Shu'bah, may Allah be pleased with him, narrated that Al-Mughira ibn Shu'bah dictated a letter to me addressed to Muawiyah radiallahu anhu arda, that the Prophet ﷺ used to supplicate at the end of each obligatory prayer. So this is the dua of the Prophet ﷺ, which is لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له له الملك وله الحمد وهو على كل شيء قدير اللهم لا مانع لما أعطيت ولا معطي لما منعت ولا ينفع ذا الجد منك الجد. This is the du'as of after salah. It's written there in that poster as well. لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له له الملك وله الحمد وهو على كل شيء قدير اللهم لا مانع لما أعطيت ولا معطي لما منعت ولا ينفع ذا الجد منك الجد. Which is, there is no true God, no one deserves to be worshipped except for Allah, the one who has no partner. His is the sovereignty and His is the praise, and He is able to do everything. Oh Allah, nobody can withhold that which you give, and nobody can give that which you withhold, and the high status of a person is of no avail against you, Ya Allah. What a beautiful dua. No one can stop what's for you. Okay, even if the whole of humanity gathered to harm you, if Allah didn't write harm for you, they can't harm you. And even if the whole of humanity gathered to try and benefit you, they can't benefit you unless Allah has written for you benefit. This is yaqeen. This is the truth. This is fact. This is fact. Sayyidina Shu'aib said what? Min dunihi fakiduni jami'a thumma la tunzirun. He said to his people, listen, if you think I'm false, then try kill me. All of you try kill me, but you can't. Because no one can kill anybody except for the permission of Allah at the right time. So today in Gaza, After all of those tons, more bombs than all the nuclear bombs that has ever been dropped. More than World War I and II. Yes, we've seen death. We've seen bloodshed. We've seen children. We've seen women. We've seen men. We've seen schools. We've seen hospitals. And yet millions remain. You can't kill somebody. You can't dissolve people except for when Allah has permitted, except for when Allah allowed for them, except for when Allah has allocated. It's actually a miracle. Tell me, do you not contemplate, do you not see that a space the quarter size of London, after all of this, almost a year of bombing now, daily, nightly, with the most powerful bombs, with nothing to defend them and shield them, and yet Allah has allowed them to still survive. Subhanallah. We are sad, we're sorrow stricken, we're sad, but this other reflection is so true. How are they still surviving? How are they still alive? This is the meaning of Allah gives life and death. No one can give death except for Allah. Doesn't matter how powerful you are, how many bombs you have, who's funding you, how many APACs you got, how many APACs you got, and how many senators you bought, and how many ministers you bought, and how much bombs you bought. Nothing's going to work in the sight of Allah and against Allah. So, oh Allah, we say to Allah in this dua, لا مال علم ولا ينفع ذا الجد منك الجد, and the person of high status can do nothing, is no avail against your will. He also wrote to him that the Prophet ﷺ used to forbid irrelevant talk, avoid from irrelevant talk, wasteful expenditure, persisting questioning, disobedience of the parents, especially the mothers. Don't disobey your parents, oh silly people. May Allah guide us all. Do not disobey your parents. Do not disobey your parents is a major sin in Islam. And accompany them with goodness and kindness and ihsan in this life. وَصَاحِبْهُمَا فِي الدُّنْيَا مَعْرُوفًا. Allah forbade also the harming of the daughters and the displeasure at the birth of daughters. In extreme cases, the harming and the killing وَالْعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ of daughters. Alhamdulillah, this is not so common today, but this was a big issue before. People used to try to hide the birth of their daughters, especially in the shirki and the jahili societies. Depriving others of their rights and acquisition of property wrongfully. Depriving others of their rights and acquiring property wrongfully by cheating, by forcing, by pressuring, by blackmailing, by bribing, and so on. Understood? Understood, inshallah? Next chapter, because it's nearly Maghrib Isha time anyway. Prohibition of pointing towards a Muslim with a weapon, deliberately or in joke, and handing over an unsheathed sword. Do you know what a sheath is? Who knows what a sheath is? Sheath is the cover of the sword, yeah? You see that picture of the uncle walking around with the sword somewhere up north? SubhanAllah, he went overboard. No need for all of that. There was a chacha with a white hat, a white thobe, he was walking with a open sword. I don't know if it was from this riot or it was before, but it was flowing around in the internet. 1783 عن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه عن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قال لا يشر أحدكم إلى أخيه بالسلاح فإنه لا يدري لعل الشيطان ينزع في يده فيقع في حفرة من النار, which is the Sayyidina Abu Hurairah رضي الله عنه وارضاه narrated, the Prophet Muhammad صلى الله عليه وسلم said, none of you should point at his brother with a weapon. You can't point at your brother with a weapon, whatever it may be. Whether it be a bat, whether it be a knife, whether it be a gun. Pointing at your brother or your sister or your partner or your sibling or anyone who's innocent with a weapon is haram. Why? The hadith then says, none of you should point at his brother with a weapon, because he does not know shaitan may make it loose from his hand, and as a result the other person may become harmed and he will fall into the hellfire. So you don't know, because you pulled out the weapon, now you don't know, you got angry, you don't know how you swung it, maybe you didn't even mean it, so accidentally you end up killing someone or harming someone or cutting someone. You'll regret it for the rest of your life. You'll be punished in this dunya and also in the akhirah. So what do? The answer is, don't point weapons at people. And this is a big pertinent reminder for knife crime. I don't know, you know what, sometimes I feel so sad. that the people who are supposed to hear the advice the most, they're probably never going to hear this advice ever again, or ever in their life, because they're not in the masjid or listening to this talk. But it's for us to convey. Carrying knives is haram, because carrying knives is the same as pointing a weapon at your brother. Why are you carrying your weapon for? So knife crime is on the rise in London. So much killing, so many riots, so many problems. These are for us to reflect upon. Don't, and especially also, I'll remind you, husband and wife, yeah? Husband and wife. When you argue, limit yourself. Distance yourself from each other if need be. Sit down, do wudu, lie down, calm yourself down. Leave the house if you need to get some fresh air, to recollect. Don't escalate. Don't go forward. Don't point a kid. Don't point anything. Because I hear stories, people are pointing spoons and forks and knives, not butter knives. May Allah protect us all. Okay, and then the next hadith is saying, عن جابر رضي الله عنه. The narration of Muslim is Abu al-Qasim, the Prophet ﷺ said, he who points at his Muslim brother with a weapon is cursed by the angels, even if the other person should be his real brother. Okay? عن جابر رضي الله عنه قال نهى رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم أن يتعاطى السيف مسلولا. Sayyidina Jabir narrated that the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said, the Prophet ﷺ prohibited the presenting or giving or handing over of an unsheathed sword, or giving a knife which is open. It should be safely protected, because this shows to us a very, very important thing, that shaitan can sometimes make you slip. Sometimes shaitan can make you overstep. You meant something, you just meant to give the knife over, but then shaitan can push your hand or allow for it to, you become a bit unalert, and then the knife now harms someone. Now who's gonna be, you can't go to the court and say, oh, it's shaitan. No, it was in your hand, you done it. You did the crime, so you will punish this, you will suffer the punishment. So be very careful. Pointing weapons and pointing sharp objects or anything like that, your brother, subhanAllah, like, even, and that also includes like poisoning your fist. You know? Pointing your fist like unnecessarily. All this stuff. I hope no one clips the answers. The Imam was giving reference to everyone. No. All of this stuff indicates it's not good. These threats are not good, and it's not allowed in Islam. Undesirability of leaving the masjid without offering the prayer after adhan, except for in a just cause. Let's read this one hadith, inshallah, and then we'll end it there. Abu al-Sha'tha narrated that we were sitting with Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu arda in the masjid when the muaddin proclaimed the adhan. A man stood up in the masjid and started to walk out. Sayyidina Abu Hurairah stared at him till he went out of the mosque. Upon this, Abu Hurairah, may Allah be pleased with him, said, indeed this man has disobeyed Abu al-Qasim. Because it is against the sunnah that if you hear the adhan in this masjid, that you should walk out without praying in this masjid. Unless you have an excuse. What's the excuse? An emergency, you're an imam in another masjid, you've already prayed, or you're going to pray afterwards, it's already been scheduled. Stuff like that. When you have a valid reason, then you're allowed to not pray. But when the adhan has been called, then it's upon you to pray in this jama'ah. Unless you have a valid excuse. So we see many brothers, they may be sitting for the class, but when the adhan is called, they walk out. This is not allowed in Islam. Okay, you pray when the adhan has been called, inshallah. Unless, of course, you have an emergency, you have a valid reason, etc. That's a separate issue. Jazakumullahu khairan. Are there any questions for today? In the next 2-3 minutes?
You said about bidding. We know we're not allowed to bid. For example,
no, we're allowed to bid. But you know how people like tell their cousins to bid as well to make the price go up? Fake price, shield bidding, scam. That's not allowed. But bidding is allowed. So, you know, auction is allowed. Auction is allowed. Selling something in the auction, bidding is allowed. But we're talking about what's not allowed is when you set someone up to bid so that your price goes up. Yeah. To try and increase the price like that. That's not allowed. Yes.
So there's robbers in Islam community that sell on behalf of their friend, and they notify their friend that they'll win. Say this is £200 profit of the car. Is that allowed?
Look, this is permitted. Having a simsar, having someone selling on the auto trader is a simsar. I use it. eBay, Facebook Marketplace. This is all jaiz. What's being prohibited? That's why I took a bit of time to explain to you what's being prohibited. What's being prohibited is where there is a disconnect and complete lack of knowledge between the owner of the commodity and the seller. So if you are your cousin or somebody else is selling on your behalf, then you can still see how much is selling it for, how much it's going for, compared to other products. So that's fine. But if there was a disconnect where you don't know what's happening, someone was just selling on your behalf, you have no idea what's happening. So here there's harm on you in that you're not getting a fair price. And over time this can be a harm on the people as well, because someone may tamper with the market prices because you have no idea what's happening. And they may make it seem like there's a lack of that provision or that product or that commodity. And so inflation may happen. Does that make sense, yeah? Jazakumullah khairan. Any other questions? Very good. Jazakumullah khairan. If there are any confusions, you can rewind and watch online, inshallah. Apart from that, bi'idhnillah, tomorrow is our Tartil class. We'll see you then. And otherwise, we'll see you next week, inshallah, on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Jazakumullah khairan. سبحانك اللهم واشهد ان لا اله الا انت استغفرك واتوب اليك. السلام عليكم ورحمه الله وبركاته.